Welcome everybody to the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation's Live Better series. I'm Rob Girth. I'm the Director of Digital Media here at the Foundation. And today we are talking about the sport of triathlon. And we are lucky enough to have an expert with us today who you'll meet in just a minute. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to have question and answer at the end, and you'll be able to just use the chat feature that you see to ask a question. Or if you really like to, and I would encourage it, you can call in and actually talk to our guests like it's a radio talk show. So here is our operator, Susan, to help facilitate making that happen. Susan?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to join us via phone to ask a question or make a comment to the presenters, please dial 1-800-931-1309. Once again, that's 1-800-931-1309, and press 1-4 to register with the operator for a question or comment. Also, you could also use the chat feature located in the lower left corner of your screen to ask a question during the presentation. And as a reminder, this presentation is being recorded today, Wednesday, July 24th, 2013. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. And I will type that number in 1 second. The call-in number, I'll type that in the chat so you can have it right in front of you. Now, here is our host for today, and that is Candace Cable, who is a pioneer in the sport of wheelchair racing and a 12-time Paralympic medalist in 3 different sports. And Candace, every time I say that, I am impressed.
Yay!
It's just an amazing accomplishment. And then we were talking, I forget what time we were talking about it, but we were talking about New York Marathon that you've won, Boston Marathon that you've won, and I think even multiple times those 2 races. Is that correct?
Well, not New York Marathon, but Boston, definitely.
Yes. Okay. Still, yes,
50%.
amazing.
That's awesome, Rob.
So take it away. Let's find out about triathlons. It makes me tired just thinking of it.
Yeah, 3 sports, all in the same day. Wow. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I am super honored and grateful that you're here to join us for this Live Better series on adaptive sports. This is a place where we have an opportunity to spend some time exploring one of our spotlight sports with a guest expert. And our intention is to expand yours and my knowledge on sport, ways to stay healthy, learn some tricks of the trade, and how our guest experts stay motivated. So today we have the opportunity to spend some time with Jason Fowler. And I want to give you a little 411 about Jason. You know, to begin with, I have to say Jason is one of my favorite people. I have had the opportunity to spend some time with Jason, and he's, as well as being an amazing athlete above and beyond, he is a great person, and he's a wealth of knowledge on so many levels. Jason grew up in Kingston, Massachusetts, with a brother and a sister, and by the age of 10, he was a nationally ranked amateur motocross racer. By the age of 17, in 1991, while practicing on his motorcycle, he collided with a rock and was paralyzed from the chest down. Following his accident, Jason completed high school and then attended the University of Illinois, where he became a member of the wheelchair racing team. He really enjoyed road racing, and his favorite marathon is the Boston Marathon. Go figure, huh? It's from Massachusetts. He returned to Massachusetts to attend Northeastern University in Boston, where he earned a bachelor's degree in finance. May of 2004, he earned an MBA with a concentration in healthcare management from Boston University and is currently working as a therapy consultant at Medtronic Inc. in Boston. Jason has completed over 150 road races, 31 marathons, and 32 triathlons, all with just using his arms. He won the Ironman World Championships in 2009 in Hawaii, and he regularly volunteers his time to encourage physically injured children and adults into the world of athletics. He enjoys coaching and motivating all types of aspiring athletes. Jason is a passionate coach with health and wellness, healing via nutrition, and raw food. Welcome, Jason Fowler.
Thank you so much, Candace. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to having a discussion with all you guys. And again, thank you for the introduction. That was very generous. Thank you.
Oh, well, those are your words. I just scooped them off the internet. Well, let's get this party started. Tell us about growing up and being a mini. Gosh, that's a tiny little motorcycle, mini motocrosser.
that's one of my favorite pictures of myself. Growing up, my dad actually bought me a motorcycle on my 5th birthday, and right from that, the start of that, it started my competitive, or brought up my competitive nature. And we raced 35, 40 weekends a year, every year. It was really a family affair. My brother would go to the races with us, and we would camp out the night before and race, and so I really grew up racing motorcycles.
And it looks like you were very successful also doing that.
Yeah, it's funny. Once you start doing, for me at least, once we got into it, it's like any sport, or if you've ever done a road race or a marathon or anything that you're passionate about, once you really start to get into it and you start doing well, for me it really perpetuated and got me more interested in it. So the better I did, the more I wanted to do it. And so I won several New England motocross championships and got to travel up and down the East Coast and had sponsors. And it was funny because my parents growing up always sort of instilled that sort of dedication and work ethic. And so it really just sort of went hand in hand with motorcycle racing. And it was really a lot of fun growing up doing that and traveling and racing and meeting different people. So that definitely was the beginning of all my competitive energy.
Mm. And was David Bailey racing at the time that you were racing?
He was. David was a national world championship motocross racer and really a childhood hero of mine growing up. I remember trying to get his autograph, and I don't think I actually ever got it because there's thousands of people trying to get it at different races that we went to. So yes, David was definitely well known in the motocross arena at the time.
Well, and for the people listening, David Bailey also had a spinal cord injury, and he started getting involved in the sport of triathlon. So was he one of the people that you spoke to when you first, I know I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but that you spoke to when you first decided to think about triathlon?
Yeah, it's funny. After my accident, the first thing that happened was the first couple of weeks while in the hospital, the Boston Marathon was going on, and I saw that he was coming into town for that race, and my parents actually ended up having a conversation with him, and he gave us advice on what wheelchair to get, and at this time my parents actually had reached out to him, and so to hear from him and to have his advice after my accident was invaluable. And I had already looked up to him, again as an athlete, but to have gone through what I went through after my accident, and then to have someone else to relate to that really inspired me anyways, it really just gave me energy and that the possibility that what my life could look like. I saw that he was doing the Boston Marathon, and I turned the television on at that point, and I saw these guys in wheelchairs in the marathon, and I was just amazed. And so it really inspired me. And yes, to answer your question, he was the person that I saw on television, again, ironically, finishing the Hawaii Ironman in, I believe it was 1998 or 1999, and winning. And so he really inspired me to get into triathlon as well. So he's really been integral in inspiring me into seeing what the possibility is for myself personally.
And over in these webcasts, I am hearing from my experts that they saw something, they met someone early on after their spinal cord injury that made all the difference in the world. And it sounds like David Bailey was one of those people for you. Were there any words of wisdom that came from other people or from David for you?
Yeah, it's funny. I there wasn't anything specific that I said. It was just coming from a person that I could relate to and seeing what he was doing. It wasn't even necessarily the words, but it was just the action that he was taking. And he really was living his life as if he didn't have a disability. It was like He wasn't in a chair. It had nothing to do with a wheelchair. It was as if we were just, normal people, as if, I hope we're normal people. And out there doing our thing. And it happened to be that what he was doing just really inspired me. And again, showed me what that possibility was. So it wasn't really anything he said, but more just the action he was taking. And I find that really overlaps to anything you're doing in sports or athletics. And I really find that finding other people in wheelchairs in the community that are doing similar things, and the quality of conversation and the things that we talk about, I always learn so much from other people, whether it be talking about their wheelchair cushion or the type of tires they're using. It's amazing how in the sports world, where all the equipment is so specific and so custom, how much you learn from other people. So David was one of those people that I saw his equipment, and I was like, wow, I need to get that hand cycle. I need to get that swim equipment. I need to, how do you do that? So reaching out to other people that have similar interests and have already gone through it, I found to be invaluable.
Yes, I agree with you. It's been so valuable throughout my athletic career. And with David being a pioneer in the sport of triathlon, there was probably this wealth of knowledge that you could tap into so easily. And you guys had that history with the motocross, so there was that connection also. So when you went back to high school, what was that like following your spinal cord injury for you to be integrated back in? Was it challenging? Was it easy? How did that play out for you?
Yeah, it was, for me, going back to high school was a really challenging time. There was a lot of things going on, right? You're learning. For me, I went back, I guess it was about 10 weeks after my accident, maybe about 2 months. And so right away I was learning just how to deal with my body and how to get around in a wheelchair, whether it be dressing, how to pee and poop and all those things that nobody wants to talk about and you're embarrassed about, and going out into public. And I had no idea what I was doing at that point. And so going into high school, and then all of a sudden you're sort of already comfortable in your own skin, or uncomfortable in your own skin, and going to high school and puberty and all these things. And so it was just sort of a weird time. I think that helped me the most was having my friends and family that were just so supportive. My high school, and they actually raised money to buy me my first wheelchair after I got hurt. My high school did, and so everybody really rallied around helping and being supportive, which is just really helpful.
And it looks like you tried some sports, the javelin. I saw some water skiing pictures earlier. And
yeah, right from the beginning, I tried to figure out what I could do in the way of sports and athletics, and for me, I don't know who gave me the advice, but I think it was really my parents that sort of instilled, like, well, after your accident, let's get on with life. There's no reason for you to sit around and feel sorry for yourself. I'll never forget the moment where my mom said, and this was after about 2 weeks of being in the hospital and everything was really new, she goes, you know what, we're going to give you about 2 more weeks to feel sorry for yourself, and then it's time to get on with this rehab and really get out of here and start to just move forward, and whatever that looks like. And I think that sort of was how it brought me up to begin with. And so getting into sports and athletics after my accident was really the thing that helped me get back to who I was as a person, and really forgetting about the chair and everything else. You just sort of make it work and be resourceful about your situation, because we all have our challenges. And for me, it was just balancing in my chair and being able to not fall out, or being able to not pee on myself initially. And the simple things that we all take for granted. And I think once you get over that hump and really focus on moving forward and what your passions are and getting back to who you are, I felt like, for me at least, that things went easier. So yeah, I tried the javelin, which I think you can see from that picture, it made it look kind of cool, but you know what, I think it made it like maybe 10 feet. I also threw the shot put. I tried wheelchair basketball early on. I really enjoyed that, but my balance wasn't so great. That was a horrible shot, but I had fun with it, and more about the community around that as well.
And what is your spinal cord injury level?
I'm a T5, T6 para, so yeah.
Okay, and it looks like in the middle picture here that, is it some kind of early FES system?
Yeah, so absolutely. I spent FES. It was actually electrodes that were implanted in my legs. I went to Shriners Hospital in Philadelphia and spent 4 months there just doing therapy to learn how to walk, or how to stand with FES, and that kept my legs healthy and circulation good, and was a really good workout as well. In hindsight, it wasn't very functional, but it did keep my legs healthy, and was nice to be able to stand.
And is it something that you continue doing today?
No, I stopped several years ago. It was a research study, and again, I found it not to be very functional, and I was more focused on keeping my lowers as healthy as I possibly could, and I think I lost a little bit of that touch as time went on, and just because of the time commitment it takes to do that on a daily basis.
Mhm. Okay, so you moved on to the University of Illinois, and it looks like you found your tribe, so to speak. and wheelchair racing. Were you introduced to wheelchair racing there?
I was introduced actually shortly after my accident, and then when I went to Illinois, it was really where they taught me training, and real serious training. We trained 6 days a week there, and we had our own coach, and I think there was 100 and something people on campus in wheelchairs, and there was 30 of us on the track and field team, and so that's where I really learned the serious part about wheelchair racing and being a student athlete.
And that was 1994, 1995, around that time?
Yeah, 94, 95. Yeah.
It was, huge groups were coming out of the U of I during that time of people doing different adaptive sports. And wheelchair racing was looked like it was one of the mainstays for the college.
Yeah, absolutely. And the best part about being at USC for me was it was really my first introduction around being so many people in chairs. Again, 100 and something people on campus in chairs, and then having a varsity sports wheelchair program on campus with your own coaches, own facility, equipment that they help you get. It's all specialized for wheelchair racing, and teaching you that, and so getting to race and train and travel all around the country and the world was a spectacular experience. And at the time, the coach, Marty Morse, was just a real advocate and for wheelchair racing and athletes, and also being a student. So it was just a great place to do it all.
And is this was it here or back home when you had your first experience with triathlon?
Yeah, I had my first experience here in Massachusetts. I did my first triathlon was a sprint distance triathlon, and that typically consists of a half-mile swim, about a 12.5-mile bike, or a hand cycle for me, and a 3.1-mile wheelchair or run.
Uh-huh. And how was it?
It was. Yes, I did a lot of training. I got on the pool for the first time, and I had swam as a kid, going to pools and lakes and running around, but never really in an efficient way or really doing freestyle where I was taught exactly how to swim. I just sort of did the doggy paddle and put one hand in front of the other and got through the water. But I got into my first triathlon. I'll never forget. It was in the Boston Harbor, and there were 60 people that all starts at once. And so I'm in the middle of this group of 60 people, all sort of in my age group, and the gun goes off. And the first thing people do, right, is they start kicking. And you're just in this white water, and you're just trying to move forward, and you're breathing really heavy. And as you know, you can't breathe underwater. And and so I think I took a couple mouthfuls of water, and then you're trying to move as quickly as you can. And I ended up doing the backstroke because I couldn't breathe. I was so excited and so nervous. that I couldn't breathe. So if you've ever swam and you have this feeling of suffocation, so for the half mile to swim, I was on my back doing the backstroke, and I had never done the backstroke before, so I just wanted to move forward. So I'd probably double the distance that it should have. But
well, that was quick thinking, though, in the survival of the moment.
And then,
yeah, but it didn't deter you, though. You stuck with it.
No, but then I got onto the bike, and I got the bike is only a 12-mile bike, hand cycle. I figured, no problem, you can do a bike. Well, the first 3 miles of the bike, your arms are still really sore from the swim. And I'll never forget, about 3/4 through the bike, this lady who looked to be about 75 or 80 years old on this Pee Wee Herman-style upright bike with a sunflower in the basket of her bike on the front passed me like I was standing still. And I just kept thinking to myself, how did I get here? I went from motocross, where I was a top competitor in my class, and to triathlon, and I was dead last, and I was getting passed by little old ladies with Pee Wee Herman bikes.
Oh my gosh.
It was very humbling, for sure.
And then on to the run. You went to the run, right? You jumped in that racing chair?
Yeah, and after having so much wheelchair racing under my belt, that felt spectacular, and I passed all these people and really finished strong. So the 3-mile run, it goes by really quick. I think it probably took about 16 or 17 minutes. So, but the overlap from swim to bike to run, right? There's a lot of different muscle groups for us, but a lot of the same as well, using just your upper body. So it's always interesting to see how you feel from one to the next.
Now, what year was that you did that sprint?
Yeah, that was 2001.
2001. Okay. And did you go on in the next couple of years to do more sprints, Olympic distance, or any of these other ones before you made the attempt on your first Ironman?
Yeah, so I did mostly Olympic distance stuff. So after my sprint, it's like, oh wow, it's sort of a natural progression. After seeing David Bailey do the Ironman, I was going like, well, as you can see from the slide in front of you, the full distance Ironman is 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike, and a 26.2 mile. That's quite a bit different than the sprint that I just did. So I was like, well, I should really try an Olympic. I got through the sprint okay, and let's see if I can do an Olympic. And I did my first Olympic the next year, and in 2002, and I did actually 2 of them that year. And I thought that was really hard, but I just sort of challenged myself. I put myself out there, and I worked on my equipment and figuring out how to get faster in the water, and I can also show you what my equipment looks like as well. But I worked on my bike and tried to get that so it fit well, so it worked, and I was comfortable. And at the time, I remember I saw a 24-mile bike ride. That's a really long day. I had never gone over 18 or 19 miles on my hand cycle before, so to do 24 miles after almost a mile swim was going to be a real challenge. So I really just challenged myself to and push myself as much as I could to get out there and just do it, and just sort of get the distance and try to race it, but not be so concerned about what place I got. And all the while, it felt really good to be involved with a community, and I was training with some other people that were on regular bicycles, so I could ride with them and really share the experience with other people, which made it even more special, and just felt more inclusive to sort of the people around me and developing friendships, and I think that's what turned me on to triathlon.
Right, that was the thing that turned me on to wheelchair racing when I first began, was that I had the opportunity to take part in an event that everybody was focused on the same outcome, getting to that finish line, and it didn't matter what your ability was. It was just that everyone was going towards that finish line together, and feeling that inclusiveness helped me rebuild my self-esteem and the image of who I could be again. So it sounds like triathlon was a lot like that for you also. Yeah,
and it's funny, at that point I had already been in a chair for 10 years, And I had the same experience when I first started wheelchair racing, and then it went through the same thing again, another level of that in triathlon. And I think because of the after doing road racing for so long, I got a little bit bored with just doing road races. And triathlons, as you may or may not know, they're pretty challenging. And so it was really, I felt like a big brick wall. So to see other people do it and that they were struggling, I mean, it didn't matter what your ability was in triathlon, especially. There's a lot of people out there suffering just as much as you are, and maybe slower in one event or faster, and it all sort of evens out. And during my triathlons, I would be about mid-pack, so I was beating people with variable body because my run was so fast. And I got my swim to where I was competitive with the slower swimmer, and then I always get beat on the bike because arms versus legs on a bicycle versus a hand cycle wasn't practical, but yeah.
Well, let's talk about your equipment. It looks like you've got some braces that you wear to keep your legs straight, which obviously makes just complete sense. Can you give us a little background on these?
Yeah, when I first started swimming, I didn't have any braces, and I didn't have anything to float my legs. And so when I tried to swim freestyle, which is what the triathlon is, it was really challenging because you couldn't keep your head under, and your legs were just dragging behind you. And so what I learned, and actually David Bailey had taught me just a little bit about how he did it, and I had these plastic braces made, or really any way that you can get your legs to stay straight, whether that means wrapping them with a brace or some sort of fabric and Velcro. And as you can see, I have sort of a piece of foam between my legs there in the slide. It's just a pull buoy, and I stuck a strap through the middle of it and tighten that down. And then what that allows me to do is really keep my legs straight. It keeps the drag down. And sometimes I'll actually wear a wetsuit over those braces that have even more flotation, and also keeps me warm in the cold water up here in New England. And then you're just able to use your entire upper body, whether you have abs or not. It really allows you to balance and be more comfortable in the water and make it a really good workout as well.
And because your spinal cord injury level is high, do you use something on your torso to kind of keep your legs in alignment with your upper body?
I do. I use a binder around my tummy now, and what that does is, if you can imagine, your legs are twisting, and your upper body is twisting because you can control it, but your lowers are kind of staying flat and straight. And so you have that intersection at your lower back where there's a lot of torque that goes on in your lower back, and so having just a little binder there, a small piece of fabric with Velcro on it that keeps me straight. It's a little bit more comfortable. It's not absolutely necessary, but it's being a T5 and not have any trunk muscles at all, like my injury, really allows me to keep straight and just more comfortable in the water.
And these are all allowable assistive devices in competition: the float, the braces, the binder, for someone with a physical disability, correct?
Yeah, the actual the regulations now. What you see with the float is not regulation for the competition, but the wetsuit over a brace is legal. It does depend upon what race you're going to. There's different regulations, and there's a few organizations out there right now. I sit on one of the boards for the USA Triathlon for the para-triathlete component of it, and so the regulations are really just being created as we speak, and so it will depend, but really you can use a wetsuit that has flotation and something to keep your legs straight. So yeah, there's definitely the rules allow for that.
So the athletes that will be competing in the Paralympics in Rio will be able to, no matter what the temperature of the water, they'll be able to use a wetsuit.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you find it, if you've ever tried swimming, once you get your legs to float up, it really makes it quite a bit easier, and the drag goes down. And I actually started the way that I got into it. I went to just a local swimming pool and joined and got some swim lessons, and it's really the same for everybody. You have to make some adaptations and really be resourceful about how to get your legs straight. But once you do that, really the stroke is the same, and and you can look it up on YouTube just about how to get a great swim start. But I really recommend just going to like your local Y and getting swim lessons, and that will make you a lot more comfortable in the water.
That's good insight. Yeah, I mean, take advantage of what you have locally, because it doesn't need to be something special, right?
Absolutely.
So the bike, that's the second piece of the three-part equation that we have. And here you are indoors training on a trainer, and you're laying almost on the ground. Does this really help with aerodynamics?
It does. You hit it on the head there for me. The other thing is, because I'm a T5 and not using any of my trunk, being down in that position, it's really comfortable. It doesn't look like it's comfortable, or maybe it does look comfortable to some people, but I do put a flag on the back of my chair when I'm outside on the bike, and I recommend trying to find a bike path rather than being on the street if you're going to use a bike that's this low, or at least a road with a really wide shoulder, and being really cautious of cars. But it really allows me to use everything that I have, which is my upper back and chest and arms efficiently. So the bike is the longest portion of the triathlon, so it's where I spend a lot of my time in training, and it's a lot of fun though, because you can go really fast, and especially on a flat course.
And how do you fix a flat tire? Do you have to get out of that bike and sit on the ground?
Yeah, actually I had one of my first flat tires in a long time recently, and I pulled over to the side of the street and pulled my cushion off my bike and set it on the side of the ground, and then transferred onto that. I'm always really conscious of my skin, and as being a spinal cord injury patient, or person, I should say person, that I'm always really
yeah,
conscious
you're still in
of
the
my...
hospital?
I know, right?
Sorry.
I'm a patient. I'm always conscious of making sure I'm sitting on a cushion if I'm... so I was sitting on the side of the street, and I pulled my wheel off, and I have a CO2 cartridge on my bike, and so I'm able to basically take the old tire off and put a new one on and fill it up with air. Probably within about 6 or 7 minutes it took me. Yeah.
So it's quick. Oh, I would.
Yeah,
I
really
wouldn't
quick.
have imagined that. I guess getting in and out of the bike is easy to it being that low to the ground.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really easy to transfer over when you're only there's really only 2 inches of clearance underneath my bike. So.
And do you have to be careful of potholes and things like that? Can you actually hit the back of where you're laying down of the bike on the ground?
Yeah, you really have to be careful of speed bumps, especially.
Okay.
And all the, yeah, absolutely, glass. And as you can see, I'm really leaning back, so sometimes it's a little bit of a challenge to see some stuff that's in front of you, but for the most part I can see the road and see where I'm going. But there's no substitute for really being aerodynamic, and then also just in a position that's really comfortable. So, and what I like about it too is that it's a lot faster than an upright bike. And so for competing, you can really get out there with your friends and family that are on bikes, and ride with them and be at a comfortable pace and just like they would for just like a beginner cyclist. What
kind of average speed can you hold?
Yeah, on a really flat course, I think I felt 18.3 or 18.4 miles an hour. So yeah, pretty fast.
Oh. It is. That's a good speed.
Yeah.
And the third part, the wheelchair, the racing chair, of which when you went into triathlon, this was the piece of the equation you knew the best and felt the most comfortable in.
Yeah, the wheelchair racing part, for me, it's so much fun. I love being in a chair. You're upright. You can see everything around you, unlike the bike where you're really leaning back. But also with wheelchair racing, this part of it is really technical, and really the position that you sit in is so important, especially in triathlon, because by the time you get done with swimming and biking, especially in the Ironman distance where the distances are so long, in an Ironman I may be on the bike for as much as 7.5 to 8 hours, and in the water for as much as an hour and 15 to hour and a half. So by the time you get into that racing wheelchair, you're pretty beat. And so even on the shorter distance, you're really feeling it. So a lot of times it's just adrenaline, and so being really comfortable in your equipment, just in general, really is is important, which just takes time. For me, it took a long time to get comfortable in all my equipment, with the racing no exception.
Well, and it also looks like you're not as bent over as we see a lot of the racers in the marathons and on the track. Excuse me, on the track nowadays. They're pretty bent over, and they look like they stay down in a real down position. It looks like you're sitting up a little bit more to give yourself a little more space and a more comfortable position, is my guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you hit a really important topic. A lot of people see the best wheelchair racers out there, and they're laying so flat, and it's really for the advanced user, even people that have been racing for years and years. Unless your upper back, and unless that's really, really strong, it'll fatigue really quickly. And so it's a lot more comfortable if your knees up are just a little bit higher. And for me, I get them up as high as I can, just enough so that my front wheel isn't too tippy. And that allows me to just be more comfortable and breathe easier. And that way I'm actually going faster because I have more energy for longer. And and especially in the triathlon, you're really wanting, again, to be comfortable, and for an Ironman, because there's a marathon at the end after already exercising and racing for 9.5, 10 hours, I need as much energy and help as I can get.
And the year you won the Ironman World Championships in Hawaii, what was your time?
It was 11 hours and 20 minutes.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
At 11 hours and 20 minutes, how do you, I want to talk a little bit before I ask you about how you travel with all this gear, but I want to talk a little bit about how do you make sure that you stay fueled, and how do you pee? I mean, how does that work?
I know. That was the first thing that I thought was like he's out there for how many hours, and wait a second, pee? How do you eat? And I've done it a couple different ways in different triathlons, and some people, what the able-bodied cyclists do is actually on the bike they pee down their legs, actually, and it just sort of runs onto the ground, which, these are sort of things that none of us like to talk about, but these are all practicalities and things that people worry about, and what I found is that people actually don't do these things because they're worried about that, which I think is really not the best way to approach it, because then you would never do anything in life, right? So for me,
it's dangerous.
I've done a couple different things. I've actually stopped on the side of the road, and because I have to catheterize myself, and so I stopped on the side of the road and just feet over the side of my bike. And then other times, so if I'm in my racing wheelchair and I'm leaning on my bladder, and my bladder will actually, when it gets really full, it'll just release, and so I'll just pee on myself, and just sort of squirt some water there, and
rinse it
that's
off.
it. You just sort of don't worry about it, and that's what the able-bodied population does as well. And so just sort of taking their lead, and for those people that their bladder for whatever reason doesn't release, or for then you have to stop and find a discreet place to just sort of pull over and do your thing, and people sort of expect that. Other people I've seen use leg bags or some sort of device there that makes it easier and don't have to worry about it. And but for me, you just go and do what you have to do.
So you will actually, because you do an intermittent calf, you just would pull over. And did you ever think about using the indwelling for a long event like that, or was that not practical for you?
Yeah, actually, now that you brought that up, I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because more recently I just tried that for the first time, and that seemed to work pretty good as well. So that would be another alternative to that, and the way the regulations are, you're supposed to actually pee into a bag, but don't tell anybody. I just do it onto the pavement, which is what the able-bodied population does anyways. And that's what everybody else does anyways, but I'm not sure if the regulations are the same for them, but I guess they didn't just want people peeing willy-nilly all over the place, but that's
but they already do.
Yeah, they do anyways. So
they do anyways.
Not sure
Yeah,
how that adds up.
that's an interesting piece on that. Well, let's talk about, we're moving into transitions, but I want to talk about, as well as transitions, I want to talk about the equipment. How do you travel with so much equipment? Do you pack it up? Do you take it apart? Do you put it in bags, boxes? What do you do?
Yeah, and I know that for a fact that this is a real barrier for most all people if they want to bring their hand cycle somewhere, or they're thinking about going to a race, or even just traveling somewhere and knowing that you can go for a hand cycle ride or go to a triathlon. For me, what I did was I really just spent a lot of time up front and had cases made for all my equipment. So for my swim stuff, I have a special bag that I put that in, and it just makes it easier to carry, and I don't have to rely on other people. And I can go to the pool, and I can go to races, and know that all my stuff's there, and it's taken care of. And that was just literally a backpack that fit my braces and pockets for my swim goggles and stuff that you're not forgetting, and you're just organized. And then for the hand cycle, it turns out my bike fits into a golf case. And so it's really just, it's being resourceful about finding cases or having a case made that protects your bike and allows you to, I have to take part of it, I have to disassemble part of it, and then I stick it in a case, and it takes me about 20 minutes to do that. And then it's also just having friends and family around that can help you pick that up and get it in the car. And then once I get to the airport, I always just use a sky cap, or I check in the luggage on the curb and pay somebody to help me pull that around. And so once I leave the house, it's amazing. I don't have to do anything. I find people to help me, and I just explain to them, hey, this is, I've got a racing wheelchair and a bike, and don't know if I can enlist your help. And people are always willing to help. You just sort of have to put yourself out there. But at first, that was really a stress, because it's like, well, how am I going to get my bike there? And then I also had a wheel bag made that fits all my wheels. And with my racing, yeah, I have it's a giant bag, and it's all padded, so my wheels stay protected. And because all this equipment, it costs a lot, and the last thing you want is to have it exposed on an airline, or thrown in and out of a rental car, or just even if you're going to a friend's house and you want to ride your bike, and making sure that it's all protected well. For the racing wheelchair, I either just push it on and gate tag it, just like a person would a baby stroller. So I would just do the same thing with that. I would gate tag it, and they give you a tag, and that way you have your eyes on it a little bit longer, and there's just less handling of it. And I find to be a little bit more better than checking it with your luggage. But I've also just put it in a case before. I have a bag also for my racing wheelchair, and so that is protected as well.
Okay, yeah,
so,
I made a little assumption that you took your racing chair apart when I said 6 wheels. So you have 3 of your 3 bike wheels in a bag, and then you push your racing chair to the gate to check it there, so that it gets a special handling. A lot of equipment to deal with. And then in your transition area, do you have special bags with my swim, my bike, my run gear, or how do you deal with that?
Yeah, it's really being organized. And the way the regulations work is first that they allow us handlers in there. So there's always people there to help you with your equipment, pulling it in and out of there and getting set up and
helping you out of the water, I see in this one picture.
Yeah, you can see that. Actually, was in a race in Las Vegas last year, and getting pulled out of the water, and you always get these strong, cool people that are volunteers that are there to help and basically move you from one event to the next. So for the swim, they help me get in the water, and then once I'm in the water, obviously I race through that, and then at the end of the swim, they're sitting there and they're waiting for you. And they put you then into my wheelchair, and then I push to where my bike is in the transition area, which is usually pretty close to the swim exit. And then once I go and I race my hand cycle, then I come back to the same area, and then I jump in my racing wheelchair, and they're there basically to help from transition from one to the next. And really I just need them there to exit the swim. It's a lot easier to somebody to just plop you out of the water and pick you up as they're doing there for me and getting to the next event. Yeah.
Yeah, and the clothing, it looks like clothing's pretty minimal, that you're pretty much wearing the same thing from almost from swim to bike to run. Maybe you're putting a top on for the bike and the run part and something on your arms.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And really, you wear Lycra. I always just recommend, I like long leg Lycra tights, and that way you're protected from the sun and just transferring between one event to the next. It's nice to have stuff that protects your legs a little bit. Although sometimes I'll just wear shorts as well.
Boy, 11 hours trying to keep that sunblock on would be challenging.
Right? Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So here is the start of an Ironman in Hawaii, right?
Yes, that's Hawaii.
Everybody's in the water.
Yep.
And here you all are taking off. How do you stay calm in this?
That right there. So this is this is one of the most stressful, and you can imagine you're about to do an 11.5-hour race, and you have the way that this works. The Hawaii Ironman is a world championship of Ironman, and so there's Ironman all around the world that are held, and everybody goes to the world championships that qualify from each of those individual Ironmans. So it's really the elite of the elite that get to go there, and so there's two waves. There's the pros that start. There's about 250 of them. And then there's about 1,600 people that start all at once is what you're seeing here. And so it's just all kicking and, again, that white water. And so it's really nerve-wracking. And you just sort of have to fall into place and just move forward. Once you get through that first minute or two, then you're fine. And then you get in these little groups and you can draft off other people in the water, which cuts down on and makes it just a little bit easier to swim, and it's really pretty exciting if you're comfortable in the water and you've done your swim training and you know that you're okay. It's really exciting, but it is really nerve-wracking.
And do you have a mantra or something that you say to yourself in the situation in the beginning to stay calm and find that path of going straight, following a group?
You know, it's funny. I try to just take my mind off of sort of the stressful part, because it's so easy to get caught up, and then you start breathing heavy and you get nervous, and your heart rate goes up. And once you do that in the water, if you've ever swum and done a race, you have that feeling of suffocation. So for me, I just think of other things that I've done well, like I've done this before. Okay, I know I can do this, and you just keep saying that to yourself. Or just thinking of other things. I've just thought about things that I love to do, like biking and other places, or people that I'm, that are close to me that I love, and you just think about other things and literally just moving forward, especially those first few minutes where you just need a distraction to get out of your own head.
Yeah, with that crowd. And then after your 2.5-mile swim in the ocean, you jump on your bike for 112 miles of riding your bike.
Yeah, it's really a long day on the bike, and it's really hot. It's really high humidity, and you go into the lava fields, and it's beautiful, and there's a lot of great people out there encouraging you, and it's just a really special place. It's really windy, and Candace, you know all too well what the conditions are out there from your experience, which I hope you'll share. And and so
actually, this is your day, Jason.
It's really hard though. I remember a couple different times from my few Ironmans, getting to mile 90 or so, and knowing that there's still 22 miles to go. It's something that I think you can relate to no matter who you are, and whether it's sports or whatever that is in life. And maybe you just got hurt and you're thinking about that. You have challenges in front of you. It's really just taking one step and putting it in front of the other, or one push in front of the other. And there's points where I got out there, and I remember being at mile 100 and I'm going, how am I going to get another 12 miles? You're sunburned. You've been out on the course probably 9-10 hours, and you're racing. You're not stopping. There's no point in the race do you stop. I don't even stop to get water. They have aid stations where you're flying by and you just grab the water and you put it on your bike and drink it. So you're just putting one hand in front of the other and just getting through it and knowing that you can do it. And there's always going to be points. I know there's points out there like, why am I doing this? This is really hard. This is stupid. And then you just keep doing it and you keep moving forward. And I think that can be related to life in general. And I think Ironman being such a challenge for anybody, no matter if you're walking or using a wheelchair or whatever that is, it definitely takes a state of mind that is of sort of the mentality of not giving up and just moving forward.
Right, and your mentor and someone who's a mentor to many, David Bailey, I heard him say once about the triathlon, and again, it works in life, is that don't get attached to anything you feel out there because it will change. And then it will change again and again and again and again. And so just, be like the water, let it flow. It was very profound.
I can see him saying that too. That's so well put. And what I didn't say, I'll make this short, but my last Ironman experience in 2009, David was there at the race, and we raced together, and we had just an epic battle all day. So I was able to connect with him that year in racing and training and leading up to the Ironman, and to make a sort of long story really short, I caught him at mile 16 of the marathon, and we raced together for about 6 miles side by side, and just beating each other. And somehow I passed him and finished ahead of him. But I don't even look at it as that. It just was having raced him and going through that experience with him and being out there. It didn't matter if I won or lost. It was just an amazing experience and really fulfilling. I think for everybody too. It just when you're racing your friends and the community, it was really special.
Yes, absolutely. At any of the sports that I've ever been involved with, the people that I know that are a part of it with me always make it a better experience for me. It's definitely, sports has been a real fulfilling part of my life. And in that instance, we're going to start taking questions in a few minutes, how people get involved. There's the Challenge Athletes Foundation, there's Getting to Try. These are all groups where people can begin to get their feet wet, so to speak, with the sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
And are you on the board of Getting to Try?
I am, yeah. I've been working with them for several years now, and they're just they have a couple camps every year, and along those same lines of just learning from other people who have already done it. Challenge Athletes Foundation is a spectacular organization. They raise a ton of money for people in chairs and helping you to get equipment, and they also hold events all over the country a couple times a year for hand cyclists and getting into triathlon and get to learn from people that are really good at what they do. So I've worked with them a little bit on some of their camps, and they've been really supportive of me and a lot of other people in their racing. So a great source for funding, so look them up. As well as Getting to Try, who also, again, they do camps and educational forums and partnering people in their local communities with able-bodied people and with other people that may be in chairs and having other people to train with and creating that community. And Mike Lanhart at Getting to Try has done a spectacular job with that, and so it's just a great way to learn from other people and make great friends around the country, around the world, for that matter.
Right, and this information for everybody and that's listening and listens in the archives, we will have all this information of how to get in touch with these two groups on our resource page. Lastly, I really want to touch on this, how you fuel your body. You have a drink that is specially made for you, and you use some products that are really beneficial and really clean. So if you can give us a quick little 411 on this, that'd be awesome. And anybody who has a question, we definitely put it in the chat, or we're going to open up the lines in a minute.
Okay. Yeah. So the first one is Juice Plus, and that is whole food nutrition. And it's so, we know all that, we're supposed to eat our fruits and vegetables, and this is another way to get that. It's not a vitamin; it's actually whole food nutrition. So they take out the fiber and the water, and they stick in the capsule, and it's the closest thing you can get to eating fruits and veggies. And I just know that nutrition is so important for me, and having the energy to exercise and to do the races that I do, or just even having energy for everyday life. And so that's a product that I really love, and it's again a really clean product. The second is Infinite Nutrition, and what's really cool about them is they're like an advanced energy drink, and you can set it up. You can call them, and they'll do a short phone interview, and it's no more than a little bit more than expensive than your regular sports drink, and it's made specifically for you, so you can control the amount of flavor, and depending on if you're a heavy sweater or a light sweater, or the amount of protein you want in it, or the amount of electrolytes that are in it, the amount of sodium. So depending on the length of the race you're doing, and so your body's makeup, and then also your preferences. So if you don't like a really strong sports drink, then they can turn the flavor down. So it's all customized. So it really works well for me, especially for the Ironman and triathlon. It's just nailing that nutrition so that you don't have to worry about that.
Well, and that's a huge piece of being able to go the distance, and then with recovery. And honestly, with Juice Plus, I've been using Juice Plus for a while because I travel a lot, and it's a real simple way for me to be able to get the fruits and vegetables that I need. It is a phenomenal product. And let's see, I think we might have some questions. Okay. Are we opening up the line?
We don't have any questions on the phone lines at the moment.
Oh, cool. Okay, so we can keep talking. And if we have any in the chat.
I'm sorry, Candace, there was a question in the chat earlier that asked when Jason started his training after he was injured.
Yeah, I started wheelchair racing about 5.5, 6 months after my accident, and that was the first thing that really got me into, and I forgot about that I was in a chair. I got in my racing wheelchair, and I was able to go out, and I could only make it 3 or 4 miles, and I was dead, and I was uncomfortable, and it hurt, and but it was an amazing way to really just get started and forget about everything else. And I did my first road race, and it was just, I forgot everything. It was just about me and racing again, and I did horribly, but I finished, and it was fun, and I got to meet other people, but that was pretty quickly after. So again, I borrowed a racing wheelchair from a friend of a friend, and then I borrowed another racing wheelchair, and so I just, any way I could, I got the equipment to try it.
Well, we have another question here that's asking, I'm 41 now, and the T6 complete for the last 8 years. Can I start training now?
Absolutely. I would say to start swimming is really easy. And even if you don't have the equipment to start, there's organizations where they can help you get the equipment, or local people that can help you, point you in the right direction and try what way work for you. The first advice I would have is just get out there and just try it, and find other people that are doing it. Because once you do that, they'll point you in the direction of how they did it and what the local resources are to get it and how they got it. And I would recommend trying other people's equipment first. And that especially you're a T6, right? So the same as me. I'm going to be 40 this year as well. And being really good about your nutrition, eating what you're supposed to eat, and that's another conversation in itself. But taking care of your body, but once you start and you just get out there and you start meeting other people that are doing triathlons, you'll figure out that it's doable. But absolutely, there's no there's no wrong time to get started and to exercise and take one step at a time. Just go out there and get in a pool and go to your why and get some lessons. That would be a great first start.
Well, it looks like we don't have any other questions, and I'm sure people will probably have them once we're offline. But I have to say thank you so much, Jason, for sharing your experience in your life with this community and getting everybody up to speed on the triathlon. It really is an amazing sport, and as you said, you can just go down to your Y and get started with it. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and really, I know that triathlon is a little bit daunting, but just get out there and one step at a time.